Si sono incontrati solo una volta, ma Roma li ha legati per sempre. They met only once, but Rome bound them forever. 1. The morning in Trastevere. Rome was still half asleep. The cobblestones of Trastevere glistened from the early rain, and the smell of roasted coffee drifted through open windows. Luca 32, sat alone at a small table outside Caffè Donatella, a worn leather notebook in front of him. He was a writer, or at least that's what he told people. In truth, he hadn't written a single good line in months. He sipped his espresso, watching the city wake up. An old man feeding pigeons, a couple arguing in whispers, a child chasing a red balloon. And then he saw her. She was crossing the street, her umbrella half open, fighting against the wind. Her scarf, red like a whisper of fire, flew off her neck and landed right at Luca's feet. He picked it up before it could fall into a puddle. When she reached him, slightly out of breath, their eyes met, and something in the world went quiet. Grazie, she said softly, her accent touched with music. Prego. It seems Rome wanted to introduce us. She smiled, that kind of smile you don't forget. Maybe Rome likes to play matchmaker. And in that instant, the rain stopped. 2. The stranger from Florence. Her name was Isabella Conti, a restorer from Florence. She was in Rome only for a week, helping restore a 17th century fresco in Santa Maria della Scala. When Luca offered to walk with her, she didn't say no. They strolled through the narrow streets of Trastevere, where laundry hung between balconies like flags of everyday life. He told her about his stories that never seemed to end. She told him about colors, how every shade of blue had a secret name. The blue in Roman sky, she said, is never the same twice. They stopped on Ponte, watching the Tiber flow beneath them, green, silent, endless. You know, Isabella said, my grandmother used to say that if two people meet on a bridge, they're meant to cross something together. Luca smiled. Maybe a river. Maybe a lifetime. For a long moment, neither spoke. The sound of water said everything. They spent the rest of the day together, though they never planned to. They shared suppli from a street stall near Campo de Fiori. He read her a line from his notebook, a fragment about how love is just memory pretending to be hope. She laughed, saying that was the most romantic thing she ever heard from a man holding a greasy rice ball. In the afternoon, they climbed Janiculum Hill, where Rome stretched beneath them like an ocean of rooftops in history. The sun began to fall, gold spilling over domes and terraces. I've lived here all my life, Luca said, and yet it still feels like Rome belongs to someone else. Maybe, Isabella whispered, Rome belongs to whoever listens. And for a moment, as the city bells began to ring, they both listened. 4. The promise. When night came, they sat outside a small trattoria, lit by fairy lights, a violinist playing somewhere nearby. They talked about everything and nothing. How long are you staying? Luca asked. I leave on Sunday, she said. Florence needs me back. A silence fell between them, the kind that hurts only because it feels too soon. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Every city has a secret, and Rome's is this. If you write a promise and hide it somewhere here, the city keeps it for you. He laughed softly. You believe that? Of course, don't you? She wrote something on the paper, folded it, and tucked it between the stones of the bridge where they had first met. Now Rome knows, she whispered. What did you write? He asked. You'll find out, she said with a smile. Someday. 5. The goodbye. The next morning, she was gone. Luca went to the bridge, but the note was missing. Maybe the wind had taken it. maybe the river. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. He wrote her once, an email that began with ciao and ended with, I hope Florence is kind to you. She never replied. Life went on. He published a book. He walked the same streets, drank the same coffee, but something in him stayed on that bridge, unfinished. Say, the return. 3 years later, on a rainy April afternoon, Luca found himself crossing Ponte Sisto again. He wasn't thinking of her, or at least that's what he told himself. But then, as he reached the middle of the bridge, he noticed a small piece of paper wedged between the same stones where she had hidden hers. It was damp, but still legible. His hand shook as he unfolded it. The handwriting was delicate, unmistakable. If you ever read this, it means we both came back to Rome. Meet me where the city listens. Luca didn't need to guess where that was. Sette, the hill that waited. He ran, through cobbled streets slick with rain, past cafes and churches and history itself, until he reached Janiculum Hill. The rain had stopped. The sky was the same deep blue she had once spoken of, the kind that has no name. And there she was, standing by the railing, hair damp, scarf red. She turned when she heard him. For a second, neither spoke. Then she smiled. Rome kept the promise. He laughed through a breath that felt like years. What did you write that day? That we'd both come back, not to find each other, but to see if fate still remembers. He stepped closer. And does it remember? She nodded, eyes shining. It remembers everything. They stood side by side, watching the city shimmer below. Otto, the whisper of Rome. As the sun began to set, the bells of Rome started ringing again, deep and distant. Luca reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. The light turned golden, the sky pink like breath on glass. Do you think we were meant to meet? He asked softly. Maybe not meant, but chosen. He smiled. By who? By Rome. And somewhere in the wind, between the sound of the bells and the river, it almost felt like the city itself whispered, Bentornati. Welcome back. Nove, the eternal city. They met again, and this time they didn't plan anything. They walked, talked, and sometimes just listened to the rhythm of footsteps echoing off centuries-old stones. There was no grand ending, no declaration, no promises written in paper, this time. Because Rome didn't need them to. Rome had already written the ending, in its air, in its silence, in the way two people can meet once and still find each other again years later. Epilogue. Tourists crossing Ponte Sisto sometimes still find folded notes tucked between the stones. Some are love confessions, some are wishes, and one, always rewritten in the same careful hand, says, They met only once, but Rome bound them forever.